The new Beretta Model 20X in 22 long rifle. Let's check it out. The Beretta Model 20 was released, and in 1984 they released their Model 21, which was an updated version. These are tip-up barrel designs. They came in 22 long rifle and in 25 ACP. These have been extremely popular and honestly one of my favorite pocket pistols. So Beretta now is introducing their Model 20X. It is an upgraded version of the Model 20 or 21. It does still have that tip-up barrel design, a little bit different, and some of the features have been beefed up a little bit, but it still retains that same size of your Beretta Model 21. It's an excellent small little pocket pistol. And it's great to see Beretta upgrading a lot of their small little tip-up barrel designs or even their Cheetah series. And the Bobcat series of pistols, again, has been extremely popular. They're easy to shoot, even for first-time shooters. It can be a small gun, but in 22 long rifle, it's really a lot of fun to take to the range. And we want to give a big thank you to Beretta for sending the Model 20X for this review. And we're also going to be doing some comparisons with some of their other tip-up barrel designs, both older and the new 30X and the new 80X. It's just great to see Beretta upping the quality. And for a company that's been in business for over 500 years, Beretta knows a thing or two about producing really quality firearms. All right, guys, we have the Beretta Model 20X Bobcat, and this is in 22 long rifle. It's a double single action. It's really considered a mouse gun or a pocket pistol. Beretta over the past few years has upgraded a number of their different guns, and we're going to actually look at some of those in a minute. Now, the Beretta Model 21 has been out there since 1984. And so this has been around for a long time, and it is a very popular option with Beretta. This is one of their original models. Now they've updated that even with different type grips and sights and things, but this really takes it to another level. And they will continue to offer the Model 21 because it's on the California registry, and there's a lot of people that still like this handgun. And I'm one of them, guys. This is just one of those classics. And one of the big things about the Beretta Model 21 and some of the others is it's a tip-up barrel design. And so that gives it very easy to load. You just put one in the barrel, you don't have to rack the slide, you fill your magazine, and you're ready to go. So, and this one's been safety checked. Here with the Model 20, they've moved the magazine release to here, right here in the traditional place instead of right here at the heel. And so that's an upgrade just in itself. We're going to drop our magazine. They've upped the mag capacity to 8 rounds, so you're going to have a little bit more round capacity. One of the beautiful things is you can load your magazine full, pop the barrel, drop one in, and now you have 9+1 or 7+1 with the original Bobcat. And they're retaining the Bobcat name, which I thought was good. Now, one thing you'll notice is this is a plastic magazine, and that is a definite difference than the original steel magazine. And these are not interchangeable, mainly because this one allows for the magazine release to be right here behind the trigger guard. But it does give you a little extra base, which it'll hang off just a little bit, which will make it actually a little more shootable, even though these are a lot of fun. And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and hit our tip-up barrel to make sure the gun's unloaded. But you'll notice they went to a push button, and they did that also with the Tomcat or the 30X. Here we have a lever, and this just pops it up. And so it's just a little bit of a difference, but honestly, these are upgrades that to me are really substantial and really much needed. I like just the push button over the lever. Even though I've gotten really used to that lever, I've gotten really used to the mag release here. The safety is extended as well. And on the original, it was just a small little nub, which, you know, it's positive, but it's really small. And you can hit it, but this just gives you a little bit more to grip hold of, really without adding any width to the slide. It fits right down into the grips. So that's a big plus. Another big plus, and this is probably one that allows this to be more shootable, is with the original, we had a small little notch at the back and a very small little front sight. And you couldn't change them. I mean, this was what it was. Of course, this was a pocket pistol, so it was designed that way. With the new 20X, it's dovetailed in. So we have a dovetailed rear sight. It's just a serrated rear blacked out sight. And then we have just a white dot at the front. This is removable. You can have the set screw, pull this out, and attach a different sight. And according to Beretta, they will be introducing new sights for these if you want to go with something tritium, and I'm sure they'll offer models like that as well. This is one of the models of 4. They actually call this the in case of emergency model. And the others have different names to them. Now it's still the Model 20X, but as far as the variations, they have different names. This one has the two-tone finish. Some are just blued. This has polymer grips, and one of the others has G10 grips, and then they kind of do this one what is more of an economy model, and then the other has a little bit of an upgrade, more like suppressor height sights, threaded barrel, and you can check that out on Beretta. But this just gives you a very slim version. Now, I chose not to get the threaded barrel version because I wanted to show it as is, just like my Model 21. But man, this makes a great suppressor host. And I do have one of the 21s with the threaded barrel, and it is a lot of fun to take to the range. One thing they're also developing is a replacement for your rear sight to put a small plate on top. And that way you can run optics, red dot optics. To me, I'm not a big fan of that because this is a very small, tiny pistol. I want it to remain small. That's the appeal of this handgun. But it does give you that option, and optics have become more and more popular. Now the hammer is about the same. We've just got that circle, a little bit more beefed up, a little more serrations, but not really a lot. The serrations on the slide are not really a whole lot of a difference. But, you know, you're not really racking the slide. Again, you can rack the slide. And it's not that difficult, but it's a very small slide. And so you really have to have some good dexterity to be able to pull that. If you don't have excellent hand strength, this makes it a great option. And it's one of the things with the Tomcat as well, with the 32. It just gives you that ability to not have to rack the slide, which there are some safety features with that as well. And you've got your round here, and you can go ahead and have your safety engaged when you're manipulating it. And one thing about it, the safety will function whether the hammer's in the rear position or down. Now the grips have what they call the helica texturing. This is really excellent. You know, it's kind of soft to the touch in a sense, but you can feel the texturing. But when you grip hold of it, it really nestles. That's one of the things about these little guns. Now, if you have big hands, this is probably going to get lost in your hand. It is a pocket pistol. It is small. But this gives it some really nice texturing, which the originals, even though the wood grips, they've kind of done away with that as far as what they offer. But they have texturing, and, you know, it's not bad. But one thing that they have added, smooth strap on the front and the back. Here with the new 20X, we have line serrations, which add quite a bit. Really, you grip the handgun from the front and back strap. That's what really gives you the grip, the gripping surface. The grips themselves help for it not to turn. And so, you know, they kind of work in tandem. But you have this nice beaver tail, so you don't really have to worry about slide bite unless you have really big, meaty hands. And it just fits, just that natural fit. There's just something about these that I love. One thing that I really like they've upgraded is they've milled in the trigger guard. With the original, it was actually a stamped piece of metal, and it's kind of long and out. And so this has been a big upgrade. Plus, the trigger has been upgraded as well, and it's more of a flat face trigger. It has a trigger pull reduction of 35%, according to Beretta. Now, one thing about this Model 21 is I have put hundreds and hundreds of rounds through it. I have no idea. And actually, my brother owned this before I did. I bought it from him. And this one has really been shot quite a bit. And the trigger pull is not bad. But on some of the newer ones, the trigger pull is a little bit stout, especially on double action. But after that first double action pull, your hammer's in the rear position anyway. So now you're at single action. And so it really makes it very fast. In single action here, you can see the trigger comes all the way back and actually catches right here once you pull the trigger. Now I'm going to place in a dummy round because really it's not too smart to dry fire your 22 rimfire that much. Now, because the trigger has really been worked with this model, I wanted to bring out one of the later Model 21As. And this is in the desert camo threaded barrel, but this gives us a better picture of the trigger pull action. So here with double action, it's a heavy, long trigger pull. It's really smooth though until you get right up to the end. It starts to kind of stack a little bit. With single action, it comes to a wall right here and then a decent break. With the new 20X, it's considerably smoother. And then with single action, little stacking, but definitely a better trigger pull. And check out the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. We're going to go double action first. 5 pounds, 1.6 ounces. With a Model 21A. Yeah, 8 pounds, 1.5 ounces. This is definitely a heavier trigger pull. Then with single action. 3 pounds, 11.8 ounces. Single action on the 21A. 5 pounds, 1.8 ounce. Yeah, definitely a big difference. Weight on the Model 20X, 13.27 ounces. Weight on the Model 21A, 12.19 ounces. It's actually a little bit lighter, but part of that has to do with the slide width. Now, one of the things you'll notice right up front is the barrel is thicker. And with the Model 21A, it's a fairly thin barrel. Now with 22, it's not all that important, but this just kind of extends and gives you a little extra with the thickness of the gun. You'll see that with the 21, it gets kind of thin here, but thicker at the back. Even the slide has been beefed up somewhat. You can see at the top it's been flattened out, which is going to allow for a red dot. But a lot of the thickness has been increased, and it just gives it more reliability, more durability. And I think some of that has come from the Tomcat. With the 30X, they kind of up things a little bit. Even the original Tomcat was a fairly thick handgun, but it's still not near as thick as the Tomcat. I mean, it's in 32 ACP, and it definitely is a much thicker handgun. Now, these are aluminum alloy receivers, so they're all metal, they're not polymer, and so that just gives it a little more strength, and I don't think I actually mentioned that. But overall, again, this has been one of my favorite designs, originally with the 21A, but I think that the 20X really kind of just fits the bill and gives you a lot of advantages. Now, as far as the tip-up barrel line, it started out with the Model 950. This is actually in 22 short, but it also comes in 25 ACP. It's a single action, so you have to actually cock the hammer before you fire it. But again, we had that tip-up barrel design. And guys, I'll tell you something, even in 22 short, which makes this so soft to shoot, it's very reliable. And actually, it was one of the first Berettas I ever purchased, was one of these jet fires in 25 ACP. Very short, very small. These were actually made in 1952 and were around for a long time, up into the 80s. But then kind of 25 ACP kind of went to the wayside. With the Model 21, it started in 1984 and is still, again, in current production. And the Model 21A was an upgrade over the Model 20, which was actually designed in 1983 to 85. And I believe there was something about the safety. This just upgraded your safety features, and I think actually it added a safety. So this has been, again, from 85 up until present day. This has been a very popular option. And then with your 20X, brand new, but man, you can see the progression of these handguns. And next came the Beretta Tomcat, which was in 32 ACP, and this came a little bit later, but a very little stout bulldog of a type handgun. And we have the lever here. The barrel actually bounces, but this gives you that 32 ACP, which kind of ups it over 22. And actually 32 ACP has made a comeback with a lot of different guns. Just your Beretta quality. And one of the things that originally that happened to these was they were having some slide crack issues. And I think they started going to a more stainless with better heat treating. But this has still been a great little gun. It's a lot of fun to shoot. But then they went from the standard Tomcat to the 30X, and this is just a beautiful gun. Honestly, it has a lot of similarities to the original, but with the push button for the barrel release and also with your mag release, this is probably very instrumental in the Model 20. A lot of the same features, and we have the dovetailed rear and that slot for your front sight where that can be changed out as well, and we have that extended safety. With the original Tomcat, they had the extended safety already. Plus, we have that flat face trigger, and then we have the standard trigger there. So taking those classics and just upgrading them. But really, the original Cheetahs had the first upgrade with the 80X, and this is also in the Cheetah form. Now, it's not the tip-up barrel, but this is in 380 ACP, and one of the things about these is it had a really high round capacity at the time. This has 13+1. Of course, you know, it still has that open slide design that is typical for Beretta, just really adds in reliability. But then with the 80X, you know, a lot smoother action. And dovetailed sights and a lot of other things. And you know, we did a full review on the Model 80X. I'm a big fan of the Cheetah series, and so it was really nice to see Beretta coming in with the 80X and then expanding that on down the line. But definitely some upgrades with front cocking serrations, with an accessory rail, better trigger, better grips, more of a straight angle on the grip as well, and just a lot of other upgrades. And it is optics ready. A big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammo. We had the standard velocity ammunition, but we also brought out some CCI mini mags. Sometimes these can be kind of finicky, especially when you first get them, and so you want to test and find out what ammo works best. Of course, we just have one magazine. I think these are $25 from Beretta, so not a very big price, but one magazine. We're going to just have to see how this goes a little slower. Now, as far as loading, you know, the nubs are a little bit recessed, so you have to get a little bit of a thumbnail in there to get it started. Once you do, though, well, you know, it just kind of bounces back. You got to make sure you get that fingernail in there. And I'm sure the more I use this today and the more I'm loading, the easier this is going to get. And of course, even nicer to pop this open and drop one right in the barrel. Well guys, one of my favorite little pocket pistols is the Beretta 21A. And this is, again, an upgrade. Gives a lot of cool features. One of the big ones is the tip-up barrel's a button now. That makes it really easy to go ahead and load that round in. There's no lever. I love the magazine release being right where it is, even though I've got to get used to it because I'm so used to hitting that heel mag release or right at the bottom of the grip. But this makes it really easy to be able to bring those mags more natural. It does have a 8-round mag capacity, and it is a polymer mag. I'm not a huge fan of this, but it works. A little difficult to load at times, but it does give you a little bit extra hanging off the bottom. The grips are those helical grips, and they have a great texture to them. Now with it like this, I'm ready to fire. It's double action, and then it goes to single action. I mean, it just works. It just functions. And we were using the standard velocity. We were using CCI mini mags, and it was flawless. But you don't have to rack the slide. It's one of the beautiful things about this. And that safety is very positive. Sights are much better than the Model 21 Bobcat. This gives you just more raised sights, more actual sights. But yet this is still a pocket pistol. It's just one of those get off me guns. You're up close, and it makes it really fast. And that's one of the things I love. Gives you 9 rounds total. Great gun, great design. It doesn't go a lot over the overall design from the original 21A, but the upgrades make a huge difference. Plus, I'm just a huge fan of these little mouse guns. All right, for disassembly, we're going to drop our magazines a little bit different. We're going to hit our barrel and tip it up. Look, make sure the chamber's empty. Bring our barrel all the way around. Then I like to go ahead and bring my hammer back, takes off a little pressure. Now the slide, all you need to do is just bring it back a little bit and lift up. And when you do, it comes right off. These are your recoil springs, and you'll see they're on both sides. They run under the grip, and the slide actually catches them and brings it back. This is a blowback design. And then right here with the slide rails, you just run your slide rails in, and then you have these notches that fit with the spring. And once you get a feel for it, it's really easy to do. But this just allows you to kind of clean it up. But again, you'll notice there is no recoil spring here. It's definitely right here. And when you take the grips off, you can see them. But here, to reassemble, all you need to do is bring them down at an angle, just like this. And you want to see those little slots and just drop it down. That's it. It really kind of fits naturally. And then bring your barrel down and you're good to go. And again, you can rack that slide if you need to. Test for function, and we're back in business. Now, keeping your firearms maintained and cleaned is vital. Otis makes some of the best cleaning equipment out there. They also have Shooter's Choice, which makes excellent CLP and bore solvent and different cleaning materials. The ripcord is one of their signatures, and there's a whole system based around it. They are suppliers to the U.S. military. So check out Otis Technologies, highly recommended, and we want to thank Otis for being a sponsor of the channel. Comes in a standard cardboard box. There's no case or anything. It's just a cardboard sleeve, fits down in there, has your owner's manual and your lock and all those kind of things. So not really a big deal. It just gives you a little less to have to pay for your handgun. Again, there are 4 separate models, and mainly around your suppressor height sights and your threaded barrel. And then they have the G10 grip models as well. So overall, they're pretty close to the same, but it gives you 4 different setups to choose from. And with that being said, the price starts out at $549 retail. And that's for this plain model. This is with the polymer grips and not the suppressor height sights or the threaded barrel. Then when you get into some of the other models, they run up to $599. And of course, market price will be less. It's your local gun shop. So what are some pros and cons? First off, it's a tried and true design. It's been around for a long time. One thing about it, none of the parts really will interchange with your original Model 21. But the design is pretty much the same. It has that tip-up barrel, and it's what they call the effortless loading system, or ELS. So this is great for those, again, who have lesser hand strength. Makes it very simple to load. It carries 8+1 with the extension on the magazine. It does come out a little bit, and they may offer magazines at some point that are flush. Great texturing on the grip, front strap and back strap. I love the trigger pull. It's been decreased by 35%, which makes it really exceptional. It has been beefed up a little bit over the original, but according to Beretta, it's 100% better durability, or they say 2 times. So this gives you just a much stronger action. But for 22, you know, that may be an overkill, but it still gives you a very durable handgun. The sights, a big deal. You can switch these out, and it gives you some sights. The original 21 had just really self-defense sights. They were very low. This, we can change these out if we want, and there is an option to put a small optics plate if you want to run an optic on it. But even the Model 21 has a number of different models that they're still going to be offering, and you know, it just gives you that tried and true design. But I think that if you're looking for one, this is going to be the one to look at. Now, what are some cons? Well, it is a little thicker. It weighs just a touch more. And so that might be a little bit of a con. Also, the magazines I'm not really thrilled about with the polymer magazines. It does have a small little nub here to load, but it's a little bit difficult to get to. And I'm not really a big fan of that as well, but on one side it's much easier. But it's nice to have that little nub to be able to load this a little bit easier. But Really, I'd like to have seen metal magazines, but it does lessen the weight of the handgun. And really, there's not any more cons. It's this design. You could maybe say it's a con because it's a 22 long rifle, but this is what you're getting. If you want something different, there are a ton of other options out there, but this gives you something that anyone can shoot, even those that are recoil sensitive. With that lesser hand strength of the ELS barrel or that tip-up barrel, the lightweight, this is something that you may be carrying when you might not carry something larger. While 22 long rifle is not optimal for self-defense, it still can be an effective self-defense option. So really, we went from this to this with the 80X, the 30X, and now the 20X. A company that is around 500 years old that's still innovating and coming out with state-of-the-art firearms. That's one of the things about Beretta. So guys, when it comes to a really small pocket pistol that can be very reliable, you've got your tip-up barrel design, makes it really simple to load, and then the upgrades with the 20X. This is really just one of those classics that's been reborn. And it's great to see Beretta continuing the Bobcat line. But again, a big thank you to Beretta for sending the Model 20X for this review. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Little bit of stacking, a lot of stacking. Okay, what am I doing? Okay. Also, their new 30X, which is in 32 ACP, and their Cheetah. What is this? Whatever. I don't even know what that is. Easier than the original Model 21. I don't want to do it that way already, I can tell. To see if it's worth the upgrade with the freaking crap.